If you lined up all the hot dogs Americans eat in a single year, the chain would stretch from New York to Los Angeles. More than 5 times over. That's over 20 billion hot dogs disappearing into buns every year. From backyard barbecues and 4th of July celebrations to baseball games and food trucks, the hot dog is more than just a snack. It's an American icon. But have you ever stopped mid-bite mustard on your shirt and wondered, what's really inside a hot dog? How did it become such a beloved part of our culture? And what exactly happens in those massive factories before it hits the grill? Let's pull back the curtain on one of America's most enduring comfort foods and stick around. Because after our hot dog deep dive, we're also going to peek behind the scenes at another guilty pleasure, the world of Dunkin Donuts. The story of the hot dog doesn't start in America at all. It begins in Germany in the late 1800s. This was the birthplace of the worst, long, slender sausages we now call frankfurters or wieners. Both names have fueled generations of playground jokes, but the tradition of sausage making was serious business. When German immigrants crossed the Atlantic in the early 1900s, they brought their sausage skills with them. Picture New York City's bustling streets, pushcarts wedged between crowds, street vendors shouting over the noise, and hungry workers looking for a quick, affordable meal. Among them was Charles Feltman, a Coney Island vendor who had the brilliant idea to slip a sausage into a bun. Suddenly, eating on the go became easier, cleaner, and a whole lot tastier. As for the name hot dog, its origin is fuzzy. One popular tale claims a sports cartoonist in the early 1900s, amused by dachshund sausages, simply called them hot dogs in print. No dachshunds were harmed, but the name stuck, and so did the snack. By the time baseball parks caught on, hot dogs had become unstoppable. Whether topped with mustard, relish, sauerkraut, or for some controversial reason, ketchup, the hot dog was cemented as the food you could eat with one hand while waving your foam finger with the other. But how do these neatly uniformed tubes of meat actually come to life? The journey begins with the meat blend, usually beef, pork, poultry, or a mix. Factories source large cuts and trimmings from other meat processing, including chuck or brisket for beef and shoulders or hams for pork. The meat undergoes careful inspection. Bones and imperfections are removed to guarantee only the best pieces make it forward. This meat is combined with fat to give the hot dog its juiciness, and the exact ratio is key to texture and flavor. The seasonings are where the magic happens. A classic mix might include garlic, paprika, salt, pepper, mustard, and coriander. Some premium brands throw in nutmeg, mace, or white pepper for a complex, slightly sweet depth of flavor. Binders like corn syrup or milk powder help lock everything together, giving you that signature bite. Once seasoned, the meat goes through large industrial grinders that break it into fine particles. It starts with a coarse grind, then a finer pass to create a uniform texture. This step isn't just about size. Grinding helps create an emulsion of meat, fat, and water, the secret to a smooth, springy hot dog. From here, high-speed emulsifiers, basically turbocharged blenders, whip the mix into a silky batter. Ice or cold water is added, not just to keep temperatures safe, but to help bind proteins and keep the mixture moist. At this point, some producers add liquid smoke for flavor or curing agents like sodium nitrite to keep that familiar pink color. Now comes the stuffing. Using high-pressure stuffing machines, the batter is pumped into long casings, either natural, made from animal intestines for that satisfying snap, or cellulose, which is peeled off later. The casing twists automatically into perfect links, each one identical in size and weight, thanks to precision equipment capable of cranking out 30,000 hot dogs per hour. Next stop, the smokehouse. These massive ovens cook thousands of hot dogs at once using steam, heat, and in traditional methods, real hardwood chips like hickory or applewood. This step not only cooks the meat to a safe 160 degrees Fahrenheit, but also infuses that signature smoky aroma. Liquid smoke offers a faster alternative for mass production, but purists swear by the real wood method. After cooking, the hot dogs are quickly chilled in a cold water shower to lock in moisture. If cellulose casings were used, peeling machines strip them away to reveal smooth, picture-perfect sausages. Natural cased dogs skip this step, keeping their snap intact. Quality control teams inspect for size, color, and texture. Advanced factories use X-ray and metal detection systems to catch any foreign objects. Finally, automated packaging machines group them into packs of 6, 8, or 10, vacuum seal them for freshness, and sometimes flash freeze them. From there, they're boxed and shipped to grocery stores, ballparks, and hot dog carts across the country. Nutritionally speaking, single beef hot dog packs about 150 calories, 13 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein, and roughly 500 milligrams of sodium. That's about a quarter of your daily recommended sodium intake. While hot dogs offer small amounts of B vitamins, iron, and zinc, their high fat and sodium content make them best enjoyed in moderation. Still, from Tokyo's teriyaki-topped versions to Mexico's bacon-wrapped jalapeno ghost-stuffed creations, the hot dog's global variations prove its universal appeal. And now, plant-based hot dogs are gaining traction, offering all the flavor, with less environmental impact. Speaking of foods that have gone from humble beginnings to global superstardom, let's step into the sweet fried world of Dunkin Donuts. Founded in 1948 in Quincy, Massachusetts, by William Rosenberg, Dunkin started as a small coffee and snack shop called Open Kettle. Realizing the name didn't exactly scream America's favorite coffee and donuts, Rosenberg rebranded in 1950, and Dunkin Donuts was born. His formula was simple: fresh coffee, fresh donuts, and plenty of variety. In the early days, Rosenberg insisted on showcasing dozens of donut flavors in glass display cases, an irresistible temptation for customers. By the 1960s, franchises were popping up everywhere, and by the 1980s, the brand had a mascot, Fred the Baker, whose "time to make the donuts" catchphrase became legendary. Fred was so beloved that when Dunkin retired him in 1997, they gave him a nationwide farewell tour. In 1996, Dunkin even opened a shop at the South Pole to serve scientists working in Antarctica. Imagine sipping coffee and eating a Boston cream donut while surrounded by glaciers and penguins. Behind every donut is a precise industrial process. Dunkin uses a proprietary high-gluten flour for strength and chew, sugar to feed yeast for the perfect rise, and butter and milk for richness. Massive computer-controlled mixers combine flour, sugar, yeast, milk, eggs, butter, meat, and water into dough in batches weighing hundreds of pounds. The temperature, timing, and mixing speed are carefully monitored to ensure consistency. After mixing, the dough rests to ferment, allowing yeast to produce carbon dioxide and create that airy texture. It's then rolled out and cut into rings or shapes before heading into proofing cabinets, warm, humid environments where the dough rises again. Once perfectly puffed, the donuts are fried in hot oil until golden brown. From there, they're either glazed, sugared, or filled with cream, custard, or jelly. Dunkin has perfected the art of scaling up this process without sacrificing flavor. Their donuts are shipped fresh to stores daily, and seasonal specials keep fans coming back for more. From the original glazed to wild creations topped with bacon or stuffed with cookie dough, Dunkin continues to adapt to changing tastes while holding on to its nostalgic charm. Whether it's the sizzling snap of a hot dog at a ball game or the warm, sugary bite of a fresh donut with your morning coffee, these foods aren't just snacks, they're pieces of culture. They carry history, spark debates, mustard or ketchup, glazed or filled, and bring people together. And as long As there are summer barbecues and early morning coffee runs, hot dogs and donuts aren't going anywhere. Imagine walking into your favorite Dunkin' at 7 a.m. The smell of warm sugar and freshly brewed coffee wrapping around you like a cozy blanket. You bite into a glazed donut, and instantly, it's the same melt-in-your-mouth experience you've had 100 times before, whether it was in Boston, Los Angeles, or halfway around the world. That perfect sweetness, the fluffy texture, the golden edge, no accident. Dunkin' has spent decades perfecting a process so precise that every single donut tastes exactly the same, no matter where you are. Behind that counter, there's a story of carefully measured ingredients, high-tech machines, and old-school baking traditions working together in a kind of sugary symphony to deliver that consistent flavor America loves. It all starts with the dough. And this isn't just any dough. Dunkin' bakers know that the temperature of the dough is just as important as the recipe itself. If it's too hot, the yeast, the very life of the dough, could die, leaving you with something flat and lifeless. Too cold, and the dough might never rise to the occasion. Once mixed to perfection, the dough is left to rest and ferment, giving the yeast time to release gases that puff up the dough and create that airy, cloud-like interior. After its nap, the dough is rolled out in long, perfectly even sheets by industrial dough sheeters machines so precise they could pass as pastry surgeons. Even thickness is key. Otherwise, you'd end up with donuts that are raw in the middle or dry on the outside. From here, the dough meets the cutters. There's the famous ring cutter for that classic donut shape and other cutters for Dunkin's wide variety of styles. And what about those holes in the middle? They don't go to waste, they become munchkins. The bite-sized treats that started as a clever way to use leftover dough and ended up becoming a fan obsession. Once cut, the donuts enter one of the most delicate stages in their journey. Proofing, inside warm, humid chambers set to just the right temperature. The dough almost doubles in size, transforming into soft, pillowy rounds of perfection. Rush this step, and you get dense, heavy donuts. Let them sit too long, and they'll collapse when they hit the fryer. And oh, the fryer. Rows of proofed donuts glide into vats of vegetable oil heated to about 365 degrees Fahrenheit, floating for just over a minute on each side. This is where they get that golden brown exterior and slightly crisp shell that gives way to the tender inside. If the oil is too hot, the outside burns before the middle cooks. Too cool, and the donuts soak up oil like a sponge. After frying, they cool on conveyor belts, allowing excess oil to drip away while they settle at the perfect temperature for their final transformation. This is where the magic happens: glazing, frosting, and filling. A freshly fried donut takes a sweet dive into warm sugar glaze, emerging coated in a shiny, sticky layer that hardens into sweet perfection. Chocolate and vanilla frostings are applied by machines calibrated to coat every surface evenly. For Boston creams and jelly donuts, precision filling machines inject just the right amount of custard or fruit filling into each one. Never too much or too little. Sprinkle toppings are timed down to the second too soon, and they melt too late, and they won't stick. It's a dance of timing, texture, and taste. But before any donut leaves the bakery, it faces Dunkin's strict quality control. Workers and automated vision systems inspect size, shape, color, and even the filling-to-dough ratio. Only the best make it to the trays, which are then whisked away to stores through Dunkin's centralized bakery model. That's why, whether you buy a donut in the morning rush or mid-afternoon slump, it's always fresh, fluffy, and exactly what you expect. And just when you think you've had your fill of sweet indulgence. Let's switch gears to another American obsession: crispy golden McDonald's Chicken McNugget. Every year, Americans eat over 2.3 billion of them. That's enough to circle the planet 100 times. But how did these little bites of joy become such an icon? It all began in the early 1980s, when McDonald's was looking to introduce chicken as a fast food staple. Enter Chef René Arend, a classically trained chef from Luxembourg, who was tasked with turning chicken scraps into something crave-worthy. The result? For playful nugget shapes, boot, ball, and bone coated in a golden breading, and perfect for dipping. The process of making them is a fascinating blend of food science and precision engineering. It starts with high-quality chicken breast. Meat from farms that meet strict standards: no antibiotics for growth, uniform diets for consistent flavor. The chicken is ground to a smooth texture, mixed in giant tumblers with a carefully measured blend of salt, pepper, sugar, and secret spices. From there, the meat is pressed into molds for those iconic shapes, with high-speed cameras rejecting any that don't meet exact specifications. Then comes the secret to the crunch. Nuggets are dipped in a tempura-style batter, rolled in seasoned breadcrumbs, and sent through a flash fryer. This quick dip in hot oil locks in juices and sets the breading without fully cooking the meat. Next, they enter a blast freezer room so cold it freezes them solid in minutes, locking in freshness until they're ready to be cooked at your local McDonald's at the restaurant. The frozen nuggets go straight into fryers filled with a custom oil blend of canola, soybean, and corn, designed for a high smoke point and neutral flavor. In just a few minutes, they emerge golden, crispy, and ready to be served with your choice of sauce: sweet and sour, barbecue, hot mustard, or that legendary Szechuan sauce that once broke the internet. It's this perfect balance of salty, savory, and slightly sweet, with a texture that's crisp outside and tender inside, that's kept McNuggets in the hearts and hands of Americans for decades. Both Dunkin Donuts and McNuggets show just how much thought and precision go into the foods we often take for granted. Every bite you enjoy, from the soft, sugary chew of a glazed donut to the satisfying crunch of a nugget, comes from a mix of tradition, technology, and an obsession with consistency. These aren't just snacks, they're pieces of culinary pop culture woven into the fabric of American life. So next time you're sipping coffee with a Boston cream or tearing open a box of nuggets, remember, there's a whole world of craft and care behind that simple, perfect bite.